And from Radio Order, and welcome to my review for Season 1 of Hannibal. It's a show that I've been currently watching the past couple of weeks, and I gotta say I've been really impressed by it. It's been a really good show. I've really enjoyed the 13 episodes, from the characters and for the actual case episodes and serial killers. It's been really fun, really entertaining, and definitely urging the edge of your seat, gripping thriller stories. Absolutely fantastic. So let's talk about Hannibal Season 1.
Why did you black up the sun?
So the season is a prequel to the book Red Dragon, or if you've seen the movie Manhunt or Red Dragon the remake, you get a very similar story on how FBI agent Will Graham managed to catch Hannibal Lecter, and the season is basically a prequel to all that and how kind of Will Graham and Hannibal Lecter interact with each other, how they managed to catch other serial killers, and they deal with a lot of different issues and different themes for a series, which is generally quite interesting for a season to go into, and how these two characters eventually managed to crash into each other in terms of, you know, becoming friends, then turn to arch enemies. Will Graham's character in the Manhunter or the Red Dragon book and the films was generally quite interesting, and I've always been keen to see his character set beforehand and how he managed to capture him. It's always been a very potential story to go into, and that's what the season does, of course. So the storyline follows the early days of Will Graham and Hannibal Lecter becoming friends and seeing their kind of relationship grow between the series. Will tracks other serial killers down by analysing the scene, by analysing the evidence, and getting into the mindset of a serial killer, while Hannibal Lecter is playing on these little mind games. Now the show itself I think is excellent. The first episode alone gives you the idea of the actual tone, the linear storyline, the characters, what the season's going to be about, and nastily violent for sure. That's something I could definitely say is, I think Hannibal is one of the most violent seasons I've ever seen on TV, and that's saying a lot, being the fact I've seen Walking Dead and Dexter and all the different type of shows. This is very, very nasty in terms of not just violence but imagery and just weirdness. And you can get behind Will Graham's character straight away, the idea of him coming to a crime scene, you know, analysing all the evidence, reconstructing the scene, what happened, getting inside the actual serial killer's mind, and it's a very interesting process. I like how they've done it between each episode, and they continue to develop it and continue that theme throughout all 13 episodes, and it's the idea of how using that ability, but there's going to be consequences, and you're getting inside the mindset of different serial killers from each episode, and there's going to be a breaking point. It's the opposite side of the coin comparing to the Millennium series, with Frank Black's character have a very similar type of ability. I think this season is a bit more realistic in the terms of, like, you know, how far you can push yourself. Just seeing a character just having this kind of weird imagery in between the dreams, you can see how it's affecting him between each episode, and at the same time he does it to save lives. I think Will Graham's character in this season I think is really excellent, and I think he's developed really interestingly, and he's not an easy character to understand yet. I think Hannibal sees it as a very interesting kind of concept as well. He kind of likes to play with him and just see how far he can push him, and you get over characters like Jack Crawford as well, and you just see lots of different characters around him. You can understand his character more and understand his intentions, and he's definitely a nice character from start to finish, and I was really backing him, and you get to see some very interesting consequences, and you get to see him kind of react in different ways between different serial killers. It's very interesting how the creators have managed to keep the show fresh and keep the character developed and keep it interesting. And of course our main villain is Dr Hannibal Lecter, played by Mads Mikkelsen, if I said that correctly. He plays a very interesting portrayal of the character, very different from Anthony Hawkins' portrayal, and I really liked him in the series. I thought he was the right man for the job. I bring a very interesting performance to the character. He wasn't like, you know, evil kind of thing. He was just curious. I think he was a person which he's been through a sort of a background which I'm not quite sure of. They kind of hinted at in certain places. He's a character which has kind of shut himself down, builds walls against people, and he kind of sees Will Graham as a complete opposite to him, you know, the opposite person, but he's fascinated by him at the same time. He wants to help him and wants to be friends with him, and it's the idea of the kind of the friendship and the relationship between those two characters during the entire series, being the fact that he's treating, you know, Will Graham as a patient, and the conversations are generally quite interesting between those two characters, especially when Will Graham interacts with other serial killers, and he's just curious to see the mindset of him, and you can definitely tell his character is really dangerous. There's definitely some subtle moments where there's some black comedy in it, which you're not really supposed to laugh, but I end up laughing anyway. There's one scene where, like, he's having a dinner table party, and he's just having some food, and the one character says, like, what we're having rabbit. Should have run fast enough. And just cuts to a scene with a guy running in a forest, like, screaming basically, and he goes, I agree, kind of thing. And yeah, it's just little comedy moments like that kind of makes me smile and think, yeah, that's Hannibal Lecter definitely, and he's definitely a very interesting type of serial killer in this series for sure, and I think he plays games very interestingly, and he's definitely an unorthodox type of psychiatrist. And his character is much like a darker version of Dexter in a sense, you know, having his own agenda, helping other serial killers, playing mind games, and at the same time, you know, looking out for his own interests. It's very interesting to see the kind of progression. And there's definitely 1 or 2 episodes I think he shines the most in, but I'll allow you to enjoy that and, you know, experience the season, of course. The rest of the cast also did a really fantastic job. You got Lawrence Fishburne, you got some really fantastic kind of guest actors in there now and again. You got Gillian Anderson for a couple of episodes. So really fantastic cast, really fantastic, interesting episodes. Definitely some interesting characters from the serial killers, and it's been a great season overall. Now, season 1 has 13 episodes, and they all link into each other really, really well, and they all have very strong character development, very interesting different serial killers and different kind of tones, and it definitely kind of continues this kind of relationship between, you know, Dr Hannibal Lecter and Will Graham, and just their kind of friendship and how it leads up to the course of the season finale, which is absolutely fantastic. I don't want to give away too much of the season, so I want you mainly to experience it and just kind of share my thoughts and opinions of what I thought the season was about. If you're a fan of this type of show, if you're a fan of the books, fan of the movies, of course, The Silence of the Lambs or Manhunter, or if you're even a fan of Dexter or Breaking Bad, those type of shows. So Hannibal season 1, I would definitely recommend, and looking forward to season 2. So that's been my video for Hannibal season 1. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Have you seen the series? What did you think? Do you think it was good? Do you think it was bad? Let us know your opinions. Comment down below. Meantime, what you do? Signing out.